Thank you.
So today we decided to invite you to talk to you about what we love the most. The one thing that is common about all three of us is the love that we have for radio.
Okay.
And one of the things that we want to talk to you about is a contract as a radio. And I remember we got to as recorded something pambilini sichaze ama contracts abasakazi ukuthi asebenza kanjani. And we thought this is an opportunity for people to learn, because there are people who want to get into mainstream media, abanye bakuma community, they don't even understand the types of contract abazowathola maybe fika kuma commercial stations, kuma public broadcasters and so on. So particularly sikhuluma ngama radio personalities, not all other people who are within a radio station. So what type of contracts do these guys really sign?
It's called a freelancer or an independent contract. So it is a legally binding document.
Okay.
Because I think I want to explain ukuthi uzuthola contract kuqalaphi. So ukushelana nokuqomana emsakazweni kwenzeka at different stages.
Sure.
So okunye kuzokwenzeka from what we know ukulalela then bese i-conversation yaqala. Okunye kuzokwenzeka ngokuvela kwesikhala ukuthi mhlambe khona umuntu osehambile sekufanele kuphume kwi-market uyofuna umuntu. Okunye ukuthi kunabantu vele abasuke beshare istage befuna ukuthi babe ingxenye yaso. So ngalesikhathi kwenzeka ke leyo mating phase and courting phase and mshelano emqomano is then lasivumelana khona ukuthi I think we can do something together. But maybe before we do it, depending on the approach for each station, then the process of interviewing or putting out an advert to say we are looking for someone then starts. And then bese kuba ne offer. So masivumelana sithi okay, you know what, things ngayizama lento ethu sobabili. How then do we go about it? Then normally the offer would come from a stage to say, this is what I'm offering in terms of a slot, placement, and then obviously the rate.
Sure.
You know? And I've been very lucky. Besides Uguti, it obviously as a program manager is something that is you are entrusted with. It forms part of a huge part of your KPIs. Uguti, when the sponsor Ugutabantu have contracts and the contracts are in place and asebenzele umqashi aphinde asebenzele ne-independent contractor. So the type of those contracts that would be offered would happen after an offer. Then mase nivumelene ukuthi this is my offer, then bese kuba khona an IC contract, abanye call it independent contractor, abanye call it a freelancer contract, or isivumelwano where we say maybe you're going to be a contributor, there needs to be some kind of agreement. It falls under a category yama contracts. So those are the types ingifingwakha nje phezulu esisuke sinawo bese ke kuba ke obviously nama layers that when we get to a contract ukuthi yini vele sihlanganisile. And from that contract, there would be a blanket contract where an institution would say for our independent contractors, this is what a contract would look like. This is who we are. This is what we offer. Na imgomo nembandela sebenza ngaphansi kwayo ekufanele wonke umuntu who signs this contract needs to adhere by. And then bese kuba ke lento annexure ye contract. Esho ukuthi okay, phakathi kwakho ke ne-organization Ntokozo, this is specifically what you are now entering into as an agreement. And those are not the same.
Okay.
Now those are individualized because sekuyithina naso bawuthu sesidiscussa ukuthi okay, ethi zokwenzeka kanje.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So let's talk about annexure. Uma sikhuluma nge-remuneration, so is that where a remuneration will be covered?
Yes.
So I've heard in different mangikhuluma nabasakazi abahlukahlukene bethi kuma radio station they get ama rate angafani. You know, I've even heard some saying, I abantu besifazane as presenters, tina sihlezi, you know, mangabe sekunegotiatwa, ungazi ukuthi, you know, we are asitholi remuneration efana nama presenters abantu besilisa or ama peers ethu abesilisa. What determines ukuthi uNtokozo ufanelwe yiphi rates and uNtobeko ufanelwe yiphi rates?
It's a lot of factors, and they differ with each independent contractor or freelancer. It is experience. It is understanding of umsebenzi. It's the level at which you perform umsebenzi wako compared to your peers. The placement where you are placed. So generally, prime time would be a lot where people get rates are higher than everyone else, and obviously this is because of the audience availability in ngaleso sikhathi, but also that's where the money mostly goes. So my approach to it is that for anyone to get a rate higher, they need to have ticked all these boxes. You know, you need to have proven that over and above the audience that exists at a station, you have influenced it at a time where you were on air and you've earned indawo yakho. You understand? So when you look at abantu besifazane against abesilisa, angeke ngiyiphikise kakhulu.
Okay.
But ngizophinde ngithi ngiyiphikise because without mentioning names, if I think amongst top 5 well-paid independent contractors at my time, there were 2 females.
Okay.
Kulabo abayisihlanu engibashoyo. So and it highly was the audience, the numbers need to do the talking, and it was the investments from ama commercial entities that would invest. I think mawuso umsakazi advertise sikubiza ngegama usukuse kwenye level.
All right.
I'll say see just an independent contractor, but you're a partner in the business.
Okay.
You know, and maybe that brings me to something that bothered me for a long time, specifically with broadcasters in KZN. They just do not know how to negotiate contracts. They don't know how to negotiate contracts. They approach the media space and contracting space as permanent employees. Bafuna umsebenzi. And mawufuna umsebenzi, umuntu oqashayo uzothi ngina umsebenzi, kodwa mina ngizokunika lokho. Uyabona? And the conversation yebo uzokhala omunye athi and indlela akhala ngayo umuntu uzokhala uthi manje ngifuna ukuthenga imoto, ngifuna umuzi, ngifuna izingane esikoleni, but so there's nothing you're offering here. So you're literally just uzofesa, you understand?
Yeah.
And ngangijwayele encourage ukuthi, can you not wait for the time the institution is then saying it's time for us to negotiate, because they'll make an offer and you haven't used an opportunity, created a window where you come in and say, what are your plans for me? You know, these are my plans and this is where I am in my career. These are some of the things that I'm able to achieve. Because that was an early conversation. You're negotiating a contract. You're able to then say, over and above what you've offered me, Mina, this is what I'm able to offer you. You know, I've had not even a handful of people that I've been able to sit down with where you're having a contract renegotiation or an offer where people are able to really state unashamedly who they are and what it is that they're able to bring, qualify it and quantify it.
So basically, you know, I've also shared this with people. It should be about you. What are you offering? What are you bringing to the table? Now, I just want you to talk about indlela ke manje le contract esebenza ngayo. So a person, it matters ukuthi usebenze ama-hour mangaki since a independent contractor. So they basically render services to the radio station.
At a set time.
At a set time.
Yeah.
So if services are not rendered, they do not get do not get paid. Am I correct?
No pay, yeah. Because you're a contractor, so you are paid for the hours that you have worked.
So in the case of a suspension, if I'm a presenter, it's a radio station XYZ, and I get suspended for 6 months, it means there's no income for me.
No income for you.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just want to give context before I ask my questions, Zandile, because this is an important discussion that we are having. And part of the reason we are having this chat is because of the noise that has been happening with social media. I mean, it happened a while ago where people were talking about contracts and money being low for abasakazi. And currently we know that there are matters that are on social media. One, meaning people were saying she should be suspended, and then there's also a Jacinta Ngobese issue where her contract has not been renewed, but the station is saying her contract has ran its course. So we don't know which is which there. So that's the context we are having this discussion. I think that's quite important so people will have that understanding, because you hear a lot of people commenting about this without having full context of it. So Zandile, the number wami uthi umuntu ofisa ungena emsakazweni ezo-offerisha contract ntobeko uyayithanda radio usebenzela i-Vibe FM sengiqashiwe emsakazweni be it Vuma FM, Igagasi, Ukhozi. Obviously umqashi une-upper hand ngoba ngine-passion, ngiyayithanda i-radio. But what do I do to make sure that I don't get a raw deal? What can I do? I don't have a brand. I don't have numbers. What is it that I can do to get the best deal out of this contract?
Invest in soliciting advice, someone to read your contract. And I like that we are all aware and cognizant of the fact that contracts are really for the benefit of umqashi. They are mainly to benefit and protect them. But we present these as indlela sokwazi ukuthi sisebenzisane ngayo, where somewhere it would be said it is to protect you. So if you don't understand the contract, you are then in no position to be able to get the best out of it. But when things don't go the way you wish, ukwazi ukuyisebenzisa ukuthi kusebenzele. Yabo. So invest time, and that's why I wanted to stress leyo ukuthi there's a process before we get to contracts, and ibalulekile leyo process because fanele ikuvule amehlo in the negotiation itself. You know, ask the right questions, because truth be told, depending on which station you are at, I know the contracts I was exposed to were like 6 pages just off the contract before sizokhuluma ngawe ntobeko ukuthi okay wena uzokwenzani kunomthetho wenkampani la esho khona izinto zakhe. It's drafted by the legal team. It's got labor jargon in it that you won't understand, so it is very important for you to understand. And mungase uyifunde understand, you will know ukuthi lento issue ukuthi you only be here mangabe kusuita mina. You will do as I say, but when it doesn't suit me anymore, they're like, this is a document that I will use, you know. And kwesinye isikhathi ngeke ngithi ungayi understand ikona ngikubone kulimaza abantu abaningi bahambe when they could have stayed, but because I understand the contract nokuthi bangayisebenzisa kanjani ukuthi basebenzele, they are out the door in a shorter space of time where they could have been able to defend themselves ngendlela. So yes, please do understand, reach out to other people, but the most important thing is not just understanding the legalities around it, but is to understand ukuthi iwuthinta kanjani ke wena umsebenzi wakho, because iyakwenza iyakunika futhi ithuba lokuthi if this doesn't work or then you go back and say, no, this clause doesn't work. And it doesn't work for me because of A, B, C, and D. Yes, yes, I'm available to serve the station, but I won't be able to do A, B, C, and D because this opens now a door for a renegotiation. How then do we meet each other halfway? Because you've got what I want. You've got a platform that I would like to serve in.
Sure.
Then how do we meet each other? So iningi labantu suke lijaha ukuthi nje ngingenile ngithola contract zobona phakathi kanti usuyayibophezela entweni ongazange, and mase ngifika ne contract mina ngithi nje i-code of conduct, it you are not, the big word that we use is putting a company into disrepute. It is such a subjective term, and it I mean, I've sat with consultant in HR where I have a problem with or a challenge with someone where I would say, how do I do this? The question is not what the contract says first. It says, what do you want to do? So that's the person most in the upper hand. Or also get accountable who needs to decide. So mangiti, then you know uzofuna into the contract to get rid of those. You understand?
I get you.
So it's just unfortunate, and I hope it is a wake-up call for people to go into these negotiations with all the passion and understanding that people want to get into the space, but to also understand ukuthi it's not an employment. You know, try and create a partnership so that mangabe singasaboni ngasolingi sikwazi ukubuyisana. Kuthi futhi noma sibona sikwazi ukubuyisana sivumelana amicably ukuthi you know what sesifike la mhlambe i-alignment nokufunayo nengiyikhona or maybe la sengikhule ngakhona akusahambisani.
Yeah. On that point of bringing the company into disrepute, njobusho amagama esijwayele ukwenza kakhulu in the contracts. So does these contracts in the annexure highlight izinto okungamele uzithole uzenza outside of the workspace? I am now working for this particular radio station, and in my own private space I'm having drinks with my guys, and then the next thing siyaphikisana noNtobeko sengimshaya ngebhodlela ekhanda.
Hayi man, I don't know.
And then the next thing sekuthiwa mina ngimisiwe emsebenzini yabo. But besikade somewhere in Florida, we were outside of work on a Friday night having fun, and then you know sabange sikubangile. Does it say anything about such things ukuthi ulindeleke to behave ngayiphi indlela outside of work?
Yeah, sure. I think in the past 10 years, there's been a lot of reviews, and if you look at obviously the advent of social media where people have access to people outside the 3 hours, they say moyen, and then people then pay attention. What are you eating? Where are you eating it? What are you saying? Who are you saying it to? You know, and a lot of things have been misconstrued where I'm just seeing something and I like it, and someone else thinks, oh, so always enjoy it ingako. So it's you know, and there's quite a thin line, and I think speaking different cases that we've seen over the years where people are in the comforts of their home, at their private spaces, and we see videos of them indecent. They're not on air. They're not even aware they're being taken videos of, but this makes it to the public domain. I personally don't see you understand? I do acknowledge ukuthi you are an ambassador. So when people see you, they will say in Tobago with stage A, you know, in Togozo stage B. So they relate to that. But in a space where I actually have no say in, why I mean, it is upon yourself to do what you need to do so that kungeke affect tech. But we've seen these things change, and we will all admit to Guti there's inconsistencies as well as how abatashi deal with these things. There's been inconsistencies where the people themselves that are affected have been reacting or handling it, and in their handling it, into disrepute where you're like, I mean, you could have set this one out. So it's such a tricky one to approach because it still depends on who's sitting on the other side of the table and how they are looking at it. Opinions abantu. I honestly, but having a set code of conduct and certain rules and understanding Uguti in certain instances, this is how we approach certain things where we really feel Uguti this doesn't impact business directly. We expect the person to do the right thing, what they're supposed to do. So it's the court of public opinion has literally just destroyed other people's careers. for me, it's been very interesting to see how there's been, like I was saying, inconsistencies both from the business side and from the public side.
Yeah. Because before you go, I just want to mention something, because the question that you asked was ukuthi ama-contracts ngabayakumenshina yini ukuthi izinto abangangazenza. And I think I'm just going to make a comment and you can tell me what your thoughts are. Because it's a contract, it's a legal document. And thina most mawuqashiwe sukungayena umuntu one-law background uqashwe njengomsakazi. Ezinye izinto indlela eyibekwa ngayo they are too open. They are open to interpretations. I'm going to make an example. The point that you were asking, it will say you are not allowed to bring a company into disrepute includes mention social media, but not limited to. So which means it's anything else that I can think of as a manager
of whoever.
Yes, if as a manager I go and I say this one has brought the company into disrepute because of A, B, and C. If my HR supports me, let's go.
Honest, that's what I'm saying. But see, it will mention what it mentions, and it will be different for different organizations. But it is really subject to who we're sitting with at HR, who your line manager is and who you are, and how invested you are also defending. Abanye abantu honestly don't. Some organization will say, what do you have to say for yourself? Because it has come to our attention. And umuntu avela athi ngiyaxolisa nje ngiyaxolisa bengazi. And I was like, no, but you need to understand, because if now when you leave it open-ended, then you're allowing the conversation to favor whoever wants whatever to happen, with you. So unfortunately, sisemhlabeni wama contracts ayohleze khona, and each time there's developments, each time something new happens, and it looks like social media more than anything seems to impact contracts more than performance, more than anything else. And I remember about 10 plus years ago, most radio stations didn't have social media policies, but the more people started being exposed to it and using it to express themselves, there needed to be social media policy. But now, Lama social media policy, just like the contract, you find it's a work in progress thing. You understand? Yeah.
My last point on this topic, then we can move on. In this podcast with some people that we've had, there are many debates around the Indabayama contract in radio stations. Some people are talking about maybe there is a need to do away with 1 year contracts, try to get longer contracts, and also remuneration. Abantu akphileki. I remember we once had to Sizwe Plose here, and ngiyakumbula engiphushele khonini ethi wena ungaphila yini ngemali engaka, So as a person who's been there, negotiated these contracts, based on how radio stations structured these contracts, do you think right radio stations ends 12 months contracts? I know what's ends or 3 years. I don't know if it can end with 3 years, but what's your view on that?
I think it works. I think for now it does work, because we've come from a shake-up in the industry of someone who with a renewed contracts but resigned. We were literally talking about someone with a renewed contract but what will be siphelelwe isikhathi. Yet this person was announced to be part of a lineup that we thought was going to be part of the 12 months. So the space is so fluid that it becomes so difficult to justify. Like you were saying, Gutsi, the 3 years came about because people were saying the same thing. Gutsi, letting ngisho umuntu mekwenza we offer ucabanga indaba ekuthenga umuzi, I can't buy a car because
12 months.
It's what if something, so you understand, so you're not bankable. So the 3 years where at least konuzobana something as a producer in your other ventures and the things that you want for yourself really works. But I think it is important for broadcasters also to understand ukuthi ngenxa ukuthi ispace esikusona is we've got limited control in what we do. We've got a space and a platform, but we don't have control on the numbers in terms of audiences. Also, we don't have control in terms of revenue.
Okay.
So I don't think ufuna ukuyibophezela yourself just because ufuna impilo. What if a better opportunity comes? Awusakwazi ukumove. And what if business changes? COVID taught us that. The approach to how we did things changed and people started to rethink how they approach indaba broadcasting. So I think 12 months is fair, but like I said, I've also learned to go to with these contracts, as legally binding as they are, there's so much opportunity for people to negotiate something ezomsebenzela yena with the station. Without mentioning names, I've been exposed to people, especially go commercial radio station, who are able to make a business offer. Sabasagazi, but we're making a business offer. So besides the slot and just nigasona, this is what we're also bringing to the table. Yeah, because lo muntu uyadeliver. I don't have the nitty-gritties of Utibo Touch's contract, but those are some of the contracts that you want. I'm very curious to see Anelem Dota's contract. You know, I'm very curious to see Usizo Lomo's contract. You know, Konento engadinga ukuthi uzuyazi, but uyayibona approach yakhona ukuthi this is more of a partnership and a person has a stake. Anel, how many years?
5 years last time I checked.
Exactly. Yeah. You know, someone who can take a break from radio but come back and still has a secured slot. What does it tell you? It tells you, Uti, we focus more on what is not doable and fail to look for opportunities. Because contracts, but you've got an opportunity because I think you are bringing something. Yes, a radio station can survive because it's got a platform, it's got systems in place, but it also does need a voice, and that creates a partnership between the two. And if a client is able to say, mina ngifuna ukubanka kwislot Santos, it is a podcast station with move up because you're bringing millions.
On the same token, so i-client ingakwazi ukuphusha ukuthi uNtokozo angimthandi get rid of him.
Oh yes, I've been involved in so many almost hurtful engagements with clients that bring money. Be like, so and so did this and angimfuni. If I'm
pulling away,
you know. And Leon Demfundisa a lot about protecting talent as well, which I think sometimes we fail a lot because you've also invested the time. And all of that, and amanye clients will bully you. Amanye clients will bully the station without the presenter. They will demand ukuthi ngifuna islot esiwukuthi ngisifuna ngoba ngifuna ukuzokwenza ukuthi I can ngiyangixoxela stories of that where you're like
amanye clients azangena necala
lithi ngifuna kulesi sikhathi ngifuna into ukuthi ngifuna ukwenza ukuthi even the delivery. You keep saying, "Aibo, client ilisho kanjani into ukuthi sengenise selutholile umoya." So it's a very difficult space to be in, but it excites me to see certain things come out because it does say, "Guti, maybe our industry does need a turnaround now. It's time for us to start reviewing his end and approaching his end differently, you know, to change the face and how things are done." But I also encourage umuntu ukuthi, honestly, if you feel like, because it mandate place, if you want to say, ngata sazwani and wena umeli into ethile, angeke phela inkonzo embili esibaye nebusi.
Sure.
Yeah.
Zandile, on this one, before we move on to cancel culture, I don't think we'll be doing justice if we don't ask this question in a pointed way, because it's something that keeps coming back. I'm not by any means I'm trying to rehash this discussion, but it keeps coming back. So you remember when Penny Dooley left Kakasi?
Yes.
People who had an issue with the amount that she was earning. So, in terms of the amount, looking at someone that is junior, we all know when you start in an industry, you start as a junior.
Yeah, sure.
You make your way up to middle until you are, you are, what did you call it? Experienced.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
So, is the amount that offered to young talent from community radio stations, from social media, the influencers, but people that love radio, the amounts that they are being offered, in your view, I'm not sure how exposed you are to those amounts, are those fair?
Nothing is really fair in this space. I'm not sure with case that Penny, the 2.8 was her monthly claim, or was it a rate for her slot, or was
monthly.
it her hourly?
From what I remember, it was monthly.
No ways.
It was a salary.
Once it was going to be once a week.
Okay.
So it was going to be 4 times a month.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what would that rate be? I don't know if they rate per hour or you told us 3 hours, 4 hours. Not knowing that for me makes it difficult. Uguti, I could conclude and say it is an unfair amount. But if it was 2.8 per month and then guy 4,
it was working out to 600 per show. If so 6 1.2, yeah. So it was 600 per show.
Yeah, it takes me back and nankhuluman ebodroom wasayina kanjani leyo yabo
accept the contract.
And I'm not trying to take sides. I'm saying kwesinye isikhathi, and I get the desperation, the big break is that try and not leave leyo boardroom, try and not sign an offer if awuvumi.
Sure.
And it's doable, you know. And yeah, the 2.8 iyang confused.
Yeah,
you know, iyang confused ukuthi yayisebenza kanjani, and I'm phone comparisha because I was in a different platform where the rates worked differently. From just hearing it, it's not fair, but I find that if she agreed to it knowingly, she was unfair on herself first.
Sure.
It was very important. I think she'd been on other community radio stations before. It's important to consult. And
community radio station I call.
Yeah, but to fix my maths, it works out to 700 rand per show. So, but Angeti, Upeni, when she joined Ikakasi, she had 2 shows in a week. Okay. She had 2 shows in a week.
Okay.
So then ngalesikhathi kusuka lo msindo kwakuyisikhathi sama contract renewal. So then her shows were reduced to 1 show. And what she said at that time was imali abezoyithola after ukwehliswa kwama-shows akhe bese kuzoba 2,800, which was not going to be imali ebizomenza akwazi ukuthi aphile.
So the issue was not the rate per se; it was the number of shows.
Adjustment. It's not akunciphiswa because ungakwazi ukunciphisa iy'nhlelo zomuntu kodwa umbeke lapho. And mhlawumbe unciphisa iy'nhlelo because they are underperforming, or maybe they are not doing as you expected. So there could be so many dynamics kuloku, and unfortunately we never really got to hear the other side.
Sure.
And we're just taking what the other person was saying.
Sure.
Yeah. So we'll only answer it based on that.
Cool. No, thanks for that, Zandile.